Well, on that note, it is February 29th, 2024, and we figured, sometimes you just do stuff for the sake of doing it because you're supposed to do it.
Yep.
I feel like today's one of those days. We're knocking off two birds with one stone. We're paddling in the month of February, and we're doing a podcast in the month of February.
With a half-frozen canoe on top of us.
Yeah.
And this
And
ice
it's
is slowly melting.
the very last day of February, and we will not see this day in February again for 4 years. So we figured, why not go paddling?
Why not?
Anyways, we're doing a short one today.
Yep.
Short podcast, short paddle, short whatever. But we're going to be out. It'll be nice. Weather. Describe the weather.
It snowed yesterday, but light snow, so some of the stuff you can see, some of you can't, so it's like a dusting of snow. But it definitely got like icy. Some of it was melting and then it froze last night, so there's a bit of ice in places. But one nice thing that it was melting is that the water level is up a little bit, meaning that we won't scrape on the bottom as much, hopefully, except for the fact that it will be freezing cold.
Yeah, so it's -5 right now,
Yeah.
which is better than this morning. It was -13. That's Celsius. We're going to do the Nith again because the water levels are high enough.
Yep. Oh, it's very sunny.
It is very sunny. It's deceivingly sunny.
Yeah.
And we're going to try not to drop any mics in the water.
No.
But, yeah. How's your day been so far?
It has been good. I'm just getting off of a bit of a sickness. I think you are as well.
Yeah, we're both sick, and we're going canoeing in the
which
freezing
makes
cold.
sense to go canoeing in the cold. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't think it'll make anything worse, and
No.
it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, but I was actually visiting some schools today for work, getting some youth to help plant some vegetables around the city. So that's really fun.
Were you actually planting today, or you're just getting volunteers to?
Well, we get 2 schools in the region to start the seeding.
So you were doing seedlings?
Yeah.
Nice.
So they were getting the seedlings.
Do they get to
today.
put them in their classroom and watch them grow?
They do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they'll be growing them over the next 2.5 months.
That is pretty cool. One time I made a time-lapse video of Sharice's seedlings she was starting for her farm.
Ooh.
And the time-lapse video was like 12 hours long, and you actually could see them grow over the 12 hours. It was pretty cool. Just when they're really small, right, they start to sprout. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, I'm watching a plant grow.
Something I learned today was that microgreens, when you're growing them, you need to put a weight on top. Yeah, so in the classes I was in, they had full-on rocks on, like they had a platform above, or like a kind of a dish above, and then the rock on top of that to weigh it down so that it recreates some of the pressures that these would experience as they try to push through
So you got to make it work hard. Oh, yeah. This is our spot.
This is our spot.
I hope the canoe doesn't slide off. Oh, man. Okay, so this is exciting. Well, first of all, that's a really interesting fact with the microgreens. Mm-hmm. I've also heard that trees that are grown in a nursery, if they're grown indoors and then they're taken outdoors and planted, that they're not strong because they didn't have any wind blowing on them to strengthen their roots and their trunk. So they didn't put any energy into strengthening it. So when you plant them outside, they just fall over because they're not strong enough. But if you always have a bit of wind on the plant, it gets used to it, and literally, not muscles, they don't have muscles, but the little bit of strain makes it grow, which is sort of a decent metaphor for strain in general.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if you don't
that's cool.
Challenge yourself, you won't be ready for the next challenge.
Yeah. If you don't have a weight on top of your head, then you're not gonna grow right. We're not microgreens. Every metaphor breaks down at some point. Anyways, your microphone was that. Yep. There. Yep. There it went. That's all right.
No, it did fall.
You got your one free pass.
No.
Okay. Paddles. PFDs.
take 3 paddles if one breaks, but maybe
Yeah.
just 2 PFTs.
Yeah, I'm good with 2 PFDs. Okay, how long, like this is roughly 8-ish K, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
I hope just over an hour.
yeah, that makes sense, just
Hour,
over an hour. Okay. Where's your mic? Nobody's gonna get to hear your beautiful voice.
Well, I thought I could hear it from over here. I thought, now I can clip it in.
Man. Ugh, I'm so puffy right now. Gotta love winter weather.
Oh, what if you...
What are you wearing for pants there? They're fun,
Just
like...
normal 80 Bauer pants.
Oh, okay. I just
Red.
haven't seen any of
They are
that
red.
color. They're like a
rusty.
fun, rusty red color. I like it. Are you wearing rubber boots?
I think so.
I'm wearing rubber boots.
I still stepped in the river in January, even though I had rubber boots. But they are helpful.
Yeah, well, actually, you dunked yourself. No, at the very start, right?
Yeah,
you dunked
accidentally.
yourself in the river at the very start.
Unfortunately.
And it was definitely below freezing. That was unfortunate. I'm excited, Andrew. It's going to be a good paddle.
Yeah. It's a nice breeze. Not too cold.
And the river's definitely lower than last time. Because where we're walking right now, this was flooded.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's moving pretty good.
Yeah, we've left a canoe at the end of our paddle today, and I was looking at the river while waiting for Jeremy, and it was nice and deep.
Yeah.
At least there, and
Yeah,
it
we
looks
won't
pretty
have any
deep here.
problems with this. We'll have to check what the flow rate actually is, but hey, no diving today. On purpose or by accident. All right, you want stern?
Sure.
Okay.
You can switch out at any point.
That wind is brisk. You want these mittens or the other ones?
These ones.
What's that? Oh, that's our baler bag?
Yeah, that's what makes it legal for us to be canoeing today.
Oh, good. We clearly don't have a lot of sense about us, so it's good if we at least have some safety equipment.
Aye, aye.
I'm not really sure you need a baler on a day like today, though, because I think the water will just freeze solid before you can get to baling it.
Oh, we have to get off the water before the river freezes solid tonight.
That's true. All right, shall we send it in?
Yeah.
And in I go. Oh, not flexible. There we go. Oh, there's little, they look like almost little jellyfish.
Oh.
They're just like, I think it's just snow. Snowy, icy stuff.
Yeah, the bottom of the canoe feels slippier than it usually is.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Should we hit this icicle?
Yeah.
Okay, let's not go under it then.
Well, you'd be the one under it, so.
No, I don't want to be under it when I hit it. Ready?
Yep. Yeah, good idea not to be under it.
That was fun.
So how was your day today?
Oh, my day. I was doing a lot of data analysis on GIS.
Mm-hmm.
And I made some good progress, so it was nice. And I had a meeting with my pastor at church. So I feel like it's been a pretty good day. Fairly fairly routine so far, except for this, which is fun. Oh, and my little guy, little baby, we got a jolly jumper for him,
Oh yeah.
and he was practicing that. I think we got it yesterday, and he was practicing when we left with Shreese, and he was getting pretty good at jumping. It was
Ah,
a
that's
lot of
nice.
fun to see.
Because it was only a week or two ago that he was just practicing on the whatever, not quite jolly, like the
Oh, the little
leaning.
chair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jolly jumper seems like way higher skill level.
Yeah. Well, it holds him upright. Oh, wow. Good little riffle here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it holds him upright so then he can just like kick his legs basically. And it's really fun to watch because he doesn't smile at all. Like, at all. But he definitely likes it. I think he's just like concentrating really hard on how to jump. So,
Ooh, left or right?
Left.
Okay. Being right isn't really a good option, but it looked kind of interesting.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about on February 29th when it's -5 and we're on the river?
I don't know.
I feel like
It feels like a really good day to go canoeing now that we're on the river. It did not necessarily feel like that beforehand.
it kind of does. I feel like this is a really like out of the ordinary thing to do. Like canoeing in February. I've never done it before.
Yeah.
Canoed in January, but only once. That was last month. And I feel like it's a cool adventure because it's new, but also like I don't know. I think that you don't get to do cool stuff like this that's convenient, really. Like a lot of the memories that I think of enjoying the most are not like times that have been super convenient adventures, if you know what I mean. Like, oh, that's like a little whirlpool. Like, for example, some of the really long canoe trips that we did, they're not like easy and convenient. There's a lot of prep work. There's a lot of hard work paddling during the trip. We had some difficult weather when we did our big trip up Maple Mountain,
Right? Yep.
but it's like a really fond memory. I feel like that's. Oh, we should go right here.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
look at the riffles there.
Straight into the tree?
No, not that tree.
Left of the tree?
Hit the mini haystacks. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just thinking about the value of doing things that are inconvenient.
And this would be traditionally like considered a bit inconvenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now that we're doing it, it doesn't seem that inconvenient maybe.
Yeah.
But like, probably if you told me last year going for a paddle in February, I'd been like, why? Oh, there's a mallard.
Yeah, because something I definitely noticed is I felt like doing this was a little strange today ahead of time.
Oh, there's a merganser.
And I felt a little strange like putting the canoe on the car.
Right. Because you see people like shoveling their driveways this morning,
Yeah.
and then you're putting a canoe on your car.
Yeah. I didn't see any cars slipping around the road, which usually makes me feel like it really is like winter when there's occasional cars not quite making it. But it was, yeah, today is definitely a very wintry day.
Yeah.
But something that I find strange, it just feels, the second we got on the water, it felt like a natural time because the flow on the river is higher.
Yep.
It's really calm.
Yeah. Yeah. On the river, actually, it's not windy. That's a good point. It was
Yeah.
windy where you picked me up. Oh my goodness. There goes some geese. There's a lot of birds on the river today.
And there's a lot of birds.
But yeah, the river is like really peaceful today. the fields are pretty windy and cold, like up above the riverbanks.
Yeah.
But down at river level, it's really nice.
The only thing that I've noticed that has actively changed compared to maybe canoeing during the summer is I'm keeping my, I guess, the lower hand on the paddle. I'm keeping it way higher than I normally do.
Can relate. Do not want it to get wet.
But then I have a glove on, so I can't even tell if I'm kind of close to the water.
Right.
Unless if I look.
That's funny.
Because usually when I'm canoeing, like I'll have my hand right down
Yep.
and I'll notice how high I'm above the water because occasionally my hand will dunk in. But,
Oh, there's some swallows.
ooh,
Or no, that's a robin. Oh my goodness.
what is it? Oh yeah.
Hi, little robin. There's two of them. Wait, listen to how quiet it is. Did you see that muskrat?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Thanks for pointing it out.
No problem. I just saw something brown and furry looking shivering by the water. It's like, what is that? Oh, that was a nice little stretch.
Yeah, I also feel like other than that muskrat we saw,
Yeah.
like in the summertime, if you're canoeing down a river, it feels alive because everything's growing around it. There's lots of different
Yeah.
animals moving about.
Yeah,
You will
like
see
all
a
the
lot of
trees
birds.
are green.
But I often negate the river itself as feeling alive.
Hmm.
But right now, what I feel like is alive is like you see the birds, and then you kind of feel the river making its way through because nothing else, like everything is kind of waiting for the weather to get better. But the river, especially if this meltwater,
Yeah.
just feels a lot more alive.
Yeah, like the river is flowing and moving and
Yeah,
interacting with the landscape.
yeah. And there's not much else in the landscape to distract
Mm-hmm.
from what the river's doing.
Oh, there's like a little bird's nest on the tree branch. A dead tree
Ooh.
over the river there. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess that's kind of a neat thing about winter paddling then is like there's not a whole lot else to look at other than the river.
No, yeah.
I'm really glad the sun is out right now though. This would feel really chilly if it wasn't.
It would.
Huh.
And I also appreciate that I've done this section of the river many times, and it's cool to see what it looks like in the spring, in the winter, or in the summer, in the fall, and now I've been able to experience it. We're starting to experience it like dead winter.
So this is the first time in winter for you? Like in the dead of winter?
Yeah, I think we did a section of this a few years ago in December.
Okay.
I think we started the next bridge down from where we currently are.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Would that have been you and I when our hands froze off?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that rings a bell. I think
Yeah.
you're right. We started at the bridge we're going to take out at. Or maybe the next one.
For where we started?
Yeah. Or maybe it was 2 bridges down.
Yeah, we either started at the next bridge or 3 bridges from now.
Okay.
Actually, it might have been 3 bridges, yeah. But it's cool to feel how alive, at least I feel how alive the river seems right now.
I feel like this is like a very Canadian thing that we're doing though. Like paddling in winter.
Yeah, like the idea of a Canadian.
Yeah, the idea
The
of
concept.
a Canadian thing.
Maybe not the reality for many.
No, yeah, but I mean like what people would think of Canadians doing, like canoeing in winter, which is interesting because I've actually started reading a book about how the canoe is the tool that kind of shaped the development of Canada.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the United States, it was a lot like the States was discovered, so to speak, by settlers via caravans and stuff with horses and buggies, and they could travel via horseback across the plains and all that kind of thing. But in Canada, the bush is really dense and you can't do that. So when the settlers came and learned about canoes from the indigenous peoples here, they got to like travel across the country by canoe, which is kind of interesting. Like the canoe was actually one of the top 7 wonders of Canada, as picked by the CBC, I think it was.
Okay, do you know what year?
Oh, no. I don't remember what year. But other things were like Niagara Falls and Gross Mourne, and they're all places, but then they picked the canoe as well because
Yeah.
it's like so iconic to discovering those places, which I thought was pretty cool. And I think a lot of people can relate to the canoe being this like ideal of almost like retreat or escape into the wilderness, or like peace or serenity, or I don't know, whatever word you want to pick, but like it often gets associated, like people don't travel by canoe for work very much now or like to explore. It's like they travel to get away from the busy city and that kind of thing. So it's cool how like canoeing has changed over time, but it's still very much part of Canadian culture.
Yeah, because and how Canadian it is as a cultural phenomenon. Because I think from what I understand, in Poland, a canoe is called a Canadian kayak.
Oh.
Like if you translated the Polish of what canoe is, so they have kayaks, but they don't have canoes. So if somebody has a canoe, it's called a Canadian kayak.
Wow. That's kind of interesting, actually. A Canadian kayak. There's like no word for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. It's kind of interesting thinking about like different parts of the world. What would be the dominant semi-primitive transportation method? Because I feel like a canoe is like a fairly primitive method of transit. It's not powered by mechanical equipment or anything. Just maybe primitive is the wrong word. Let's say like dominant human-powered form of transportation. Like what would it be in, like you spent time in India. What do you think would be the dominant form there?
Oh, I have no idea.
Or maybe it's a big country. Maybe it depends on.
Yeah.
Wow. That tree looks really cool. I think it might be a sycamore.
Just stands alone in the field.
Yeah, with like smooth bark.
Yeah.
Way, way taller than the other apple trees there. 'Cause I think those are like orchard trees. Huh. Like if you go to northern countries, like oh, we've run aground. There we go. Like say, like Siberia area,
Yeah.
they would have dog sledding
Yep.
as a common transit method.
Yeah, and if you go to like island nations like Micronesia and places settled like that are like north and east of Australia and New Zealand, like that, they would have, I think they'd have like sea canoes and
Okay,
or,
like
like,
really
other-
big canoes.
yeah,
the
or even
ocean?
like sea raft. No, I don't know if rafts is the right word, but where they have, I'm trying to think of what it's called, but when they have multiple hulls,
Oh, like catamarans.
catamarans, like, yeah, either like single or double on either side to increase the stability. Because a canoe doesn't really need it since it's rarely ever on a body of water that has such bad waves.
Right.
And in a case where you have to stay on the water. Like
Right.
usually if the waves get that bad, you just pull off to the shore. But
Right.
if you're in the middle of the ocean, you got to be able to make it across.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I wouldn't want to take this boat into the ocean unless it was extremely controlled conditions.
Yeah. And I know I've heard them being referred to as like sea canoes. Now, I don't know if that would be the original, like if that's kind of a name they've been given since, like what they would have originally been called.
Okay.
But,
Whoa, look at all the geese.
ooh.
Holy smokes. There's so many birds on the water. So then maybe like other areas where they have lots of like shallow estuaries and bays and stuff and deltas, they might use like long slender boats with poles, right? I feel like I've seen those before. I don't know what they're called, but you don't paddle it, you pole it.
Oh.
Kind of like, don't they
Yeah.
do that in Italy in the canals?
Yeah, the gondolas?
Yeah, yeah. But I'm thinking of like somewhere like maybe in southern Asia. I feel like I've seen that. Of like you got a really shallow, wide bay, and instead of paddling it, you'd pole it.
Yeah, you're like pushing it along the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because anywhere it's just really adapted to whatever the conditions are there.
Yeah. And like in Canada, the canoes were made out of like birch bark and stuff, maybe some dugouts, but I'm pretty sure in like Amazon, they did just mostly dugout canoes.
Yeah.
And you actually can like burn out the canoe. Like if you put embers in it to burn it out, instead of like if you didn't have a good cutting tool to make the hollow part, you can just burn it.
And just keep watch of it so that it doesn't go too far.
Yeah, totally. I was actually reading in this book about the canoes, it was talking about how, hey, I started a trip here once before.
You have.
Yeah.
I can agree.
Okay,
I've started
this
many
is
trips
familiar.
here.
I'm now
I think
on
you've started-
familiar territory.
At least one, if not more.
Yeah, maybe two.
Well, you've never done that previous little section?
No. Oh. It's all new.
Well, welcome.
Anyways, so with like cedar strip and canvas canoes is a method that was commonly used in like the, I don't know, like the 50s or 60s.
Uh-huh.
And those boats, this one guy, he would, every spring, he would take his canoe out to the lake, and then he would put it in the lake, and then he would fill the entire canoe up with rocks so it sank. And then it would sit in the lake for like 2 weeks,
Okay.
saturating itself. And then the wood would all swell up, and then it would like not leak. And then if there were any spots that still leaked, you would get out like a pail of tar and then like patch those. But in order to not like tar the entire canoe, you could just like sink it to make it all swell up
Huh. And then he would redo, did you say he would repeat this each
every year.
year?
Yeah.
With the same canoe?
Same canoe. Yep.
Huh.
Just sink it in the spring.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never thought of I mean, I've tried
No.
to do that with friends, where you just
Yeah.
fill the canoe and try to sink it.
Yeah. Which our canoes these days, that doesn't work very well with because of how much foam is in them.
Yeah.
Like they're designed to not sink, even
Yeah.
if they're submerged. Yeah. So when you think about the idea of like something being worth doing, even though it's like inconvenient, is there a particular like experience you've had come to mind?
That's a good question. Other than what we're doing right now, I assume.
Yeah, I mean this is an example of it for sure. But like why would you do something like this, you know? Like why would you choose to do this if you hadn't first done something that was inconvenient and decided, yeah, I want to do that just for the sake of doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just a person that really likes doing stuff for the sake of saying you did it. But I feel like you see deeper into the value of adventure than that.
Yeah, I don't. I think my motivations for pursuing things, whether convenient or not, have changed a lot over.
Okay.
Like they've always been changing over my
Yeah.
whole life, and I think I probably would assume this is the same for most people. Something I've noticed that's been a really strong pull for me in recent years, though, I would assume it's probably a strong pull for me for a lot of my life, is that, like, if I can do it in service of somebody else, or if I can, like, be able to build community in some way, then that's incredibly meaningful. And that idea of, like, inconvenience, I don't know. I feel like it can be so, like, person to person.
Sure.
Because I know even with my family, like, there's things that my parents do or my sisters do that in my mind I would think is very inconvenient, but they think is just normal, or they're like, oh, like so meaningful. But
And would you say it's fair to say that vice versa? Like, for
oh
example, us
no,
going
everything
canoeing
I
today?
do is no, yeah, of course, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. My parents think I'm a little crazy. The fact that I'm out right now
that's fair.
after being sick, and the fact that it's so cold.
Yeah.
But I also see this as like a wonderful opportunity to spend time with a friend and
Totally.
be able to see nature and creation in a new way, and just be able to, like, just have some of those nice deep breaths that you get outside that
Yeah.
I can often deprive myself of.
Yeah.
Often
for
I'll just
sure.
like stay inside.
You get really focused on whatever task list you have to do.
Yeah, get focused
Or
on
just
that.
distracted with like
Yeah.
media or vegetating out on television or something, you know?
Yeah. So this is nice because it just forces me to be out there.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
feel like there's ever been a time that you've made the effort to get outdoors and regretted it?
No.
I can't
Not
think
that
of
I
a
can
time
remember.
either. Like, maybe regretted is a strong word. I mean, there's been times where I haven't come home like, that was the best ever. You know, maybe it's freezing cold, or like sometimes when I've gone like duck hunting early in the morning and it's freezing cold and I'm really tired, I just want to go home halfway through. But I don't regret going. And you always see something interesting or learn
Yeah.
something new.
Yeah, like I think I've had enough of those quote unquote like bad experiences
Yeah.
that it still is not necessarily comfortable in the moment.
Right. But your capacity to deal with the discomfort is like increased maybe?
Yeah, my capacity to deal with the comfort's increased, and also my understanding that like the benefits I will experience over the long term from it
Right.
are there.
Like the highest value of living life is not to be comfortable.
Yeah. And you can always get a good story, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you're on a trip and it's raining for 2 days straight, like I remember when I was younger, I don't know, it was like early high school, there was a trip where that was happening, and for the first while it was fair. I was somewhat miserable. Like I'm a pretty quiet person, so I would keep it to myself, but yeah, it was like not enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I've noticed as that has happened over and over again, because that will happen.
Yeah. Weather has a way of raining every now and then.
Yeah, it feels like it affects me a little bit less, and I also just understand, I'm like, this is a unique time. Enjoy the little bits you can enjoy. Like, you have learned how to deal with the stuff that's not as comfortable, and my favorite part of any experience is being able to reflect on it with others. So then the fun, like, laughs and thoughts you have afterwards,
Yeah.
and you're like, can't you, like, it's unbelievable that we had that much rain. Or it's like,
Yeah.
there were so many bugs, and you all get to just laugh and
Oh man. And it could
remember?
so easily be like that was a horrible experience. We just got literally eaten alive.
Yeah,
Because that's probably kind of how you felt when you were in it,
yeah.
partly at least. But
And there's sometimes like you have to deal with those bite marks afterwards, and there
Yeah.
are like definitely negative parts of those experiences that stick with you. But all in all, I always feel like even in those I learn a lot.
See, yeah. Going to the woods, no regrets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So even though I haven't had like perfect outdoor wilderness experiences every single time, I definitely can't think of any that I really regret.
Well, and if you think about it, would you actually want them to be like perfect weather all the time? I'm not really sure you would because I
Not
don't
all
know.
of them.
Like for me, I feel like part of the value of the wilderness is the wild part of that word,
Yeah,
of being in a place that isn't controlled and there you don't know what's going to happen, and like your environment is a variable that you don't have any control over. All you can control is how you respond and move through that environment. And I feel like it's just like it's I don't know, it like takes you almost like it just really separates me from all the other complicated stuff going on in life, like back in civilization, so to speak, of like all the things pulling you in different directions and everything that you're having to think about all at once. And then when you're in the wilderness, it comes down to like making sure that you have your basic needs like food and sleep and shelter taken care of. And it's like, I think that's probably why a lot of people do enjoy going to the wilderness, even though there's bad weather and even though there's lots of bugs. Like you could reasonably ask the question, why would you want to go to an uncomfortable place? And I feel like that's why.
yeah. And there's a lot of normal ways that, like, there's a lot of normal things that can be uncomfortable that, like, society tells you that, oh yeah, this is like a thing you should do. Like school
Yep.
is to some level uncomfortable because you're just having to learn so much
Yep.
all the time.
Sure.
But you know the benefits of that.
Right.
Like you can,
And it's a normal thing that
Yeah.
everybody does, and there's very very tangible paths set out of like you go to school because going to school will help you be trained for a job, and being trained for a job means that you can have a roof over your head and food in your stomach.
yeah.
So that's like a very clear reward path of why you would do a hard thing.
And if you don't know how to do something right away, or if you are having trouble solving a problem, or if something is just really challenging, like that's not necessarily a bad thing. That means you have something where you can grow and learn.
Yeah.
But then when you take it out into the wilderness, that can sometimes feel like a harder lesson to learn of like, it sometimes isn't easy.
Right.
But that just means you're able to learn
And maybe like extrapolating the some sort of tangible real world value isn't quite as obvious when being in the wilderness as it is like, let's say for example you're going to school and doing a hard thing. Like I feel like we can easily assign value to things that can help us with monetary gain or something like that. But like going to the wilderness is more along the lines of like emotional value maybe, and like mental health value than like monetary or any sort of value like that. Well, any closing thoughts as the sun is starting to drop low in the sky?
Yeah, I can definitely tell my knees are starting to get a little colder. I don't know. I think I love doing things that are always just a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you can just always grow that. Something you can always be working on.
Yeah.
And what's like the wilderness, like once you have the basic skills and you don't do something too crazy, like it's such an easy place to learn in. I find at least.
What do you mean by learn? Like what kind of learning?
Um,
Do you mean like hard skills, like how to tie a knot, or like soft skills of like
both.
personal growth and yeah,
Yeah,
empathy?
all of the above. Because like if it's hard skills of like learning, yeah, um, yeah, if it's like learning how to tie a knot, like you're out in the wilderness, there's not much else to do. Often the people around you have skills in like knot making that you don't have, or if you have a skill that somebody else doesn't have, and it's just a place where you can like share that knowledge, and that's basically the only thing you can do. Like it's a lot harder to get distracted by those things that you would if you were just at home by yourself.
Right.
And even if it's like paddling down this river right now, like currently I'm choosing to paddle right down the middle of the river.
Yep.
And I'm thankful that I have had the time to build up the skill to be able to paddle straight down the middle of the river.
Without even having to think about it.
With really, not having to think about it very much. But I could, if I want, just paddle down one, like the left edge or the right edge, or I could
Yeah.
try to aim for like certain objects, and I could just try on like keeping the canoe straight, or like how quickly can I turn the canoe.
Yeah. Totally.
And these are all things that I can easily just do. And that kind of like skill level, like the difficulty level doesn't seem to be that high. Or I can chat with you and like learn about how you perceive the world, or how like if I'm having a difficult time in one thing, like I can ask you, and it's just, I find it a very calm space to have those kind of like emotional or even spiritual discussions.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
So
I really like the piece that you mentioned about like one of the values that you see in wilderness experiences, and we'll just use that word loosely right now because we're not really in the wilderness, we're just in the country outside of Plattsville. But regardless, like the value of wilderness experiences being in like there's really strong opportunity for like developing deep relationships with people. And I think that that's probably a thing that I've really valued most out of my time in the wilderness. When I think about the big picture, like what have I learned? And there's certainly aspects of like personal growth and learning how to lead a group of people, and learning how to be resilient in the face of difficult circumstances and all that stuff. But like, I think one of the cool things I've seen over many years of being involved with wilderness trips is how the wilderness is almost like this great equalizer. And it doesn't matter, like sure, some people have more knowledge and skills already when it comes to how to navigate the wilderness. But regardless of how much knowledge and skills you have, it still rains on everybody's head and the mosquitoes still bite you. So it's like this equalizer in the way of like everybody's facing the same hardships, and you're all like, you're each other's only support. So it's like a really cool way to like basically just get to know people really quick, because you're just thrown into this setting of like there's nothing else to do but travel through the space together and spend the time together. I think that that's really cool, and I really like that you picked that out when you were talking about why you value like wilderness and doing things that are inconvenient. So
yeah.
I would heartily agree with that. Well, let's say what do you say we wrap up this podcast and just enjoy the rest of the paddle?
Sounds great. And we'll
All right.
watch whatever's moving in the water right up to our right.
Oh, is it a duck or a goose? I'm guessing
No, like it's even closer.
muskrat.
Muskrat?
Yeah.
Yeah, too small to be a...
All right. Look at
There
it
it
go.
goes. Oh.
How do they do that and not freeze to death?
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah, little rat tail. It's a muskrat. Well, this is Jer and Andy signing off.
See ya.
See you next time.
See you next time.